we took those losses to turn into those gains at the end of the day, you know. So we weren't profiting like that early on, but then now, because we took those losses, we became like a voice of reason, a voice of truth, where it was like, now you can expect if we do something, then it's going to be a good time for everybody.
You know what's amazing about what you just said is, like, when people talk about taking losses, a lot of times those losses are on the back end. They're not visible, right?
Yeah.
But on the front end, there's value being built.
Absolutely.
And what I'm getting from that is, like, a lot of times people are so caught up in, like, winning the back end and the front end every single time. That's not realistic.
Absolutely.
But as long as you're winning on the front end every time with your value, it's going to compound.
Yeah.
That's what I just got from that. So
it's one of those things too, where it's like, sometimes you just gotta, like, you use that internal loss as like a way to just continue to inspire and pave that way for you to get even better.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning to the UpNUp Podcast on the UpNUp Network. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's going on, boss? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Blessed, man. Blessed.
Yes, sir.
Never stressed.
I'm
grateful.
Oh, I thought you were about to start spitting.
Nah, man. Come on, man. We don't spit for free up here. Come on, man. Album coming soon, maybe. I don't know. Nah, man. Definitely grateful, man. Grateful for everybody in the room. Shout out to the team. Shout out to everybody here. Shout out to the listeners. And as I stated, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right? Mm-hmm. We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, right?
Yes, sir.
The hustlers, the shakers, right? The pioneers, the people who are breaking down barriers, taking up space, not just for all of us who are currently here, but for who? The next generation, right?
Yes, sir.
The ones coming from behind. And again, if this is your first time listening, welcome to the family. And by family, we're talking about the listeners, the ones who've been rocking with us. We want to salute you guys and always make sure we're, paying it forward with y'all, right? Mm-hmm. We appreciate you guys, appreciate the support, and we're going to keep rocking.
Yes, sir.
Right? How you feeling, man?
I'm good, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gotta wake the game up, huh?
Yeah, man.
It's Wednesday, right?
We getting there?
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to make sure. But yeah, man, part of what I'm just being honest, part of what I truly enjoy is walking in here and knowing that we're gonna make a piece of history, or we're gonna preserve a piece of history by letting someone tell their story their way, right? And I'm excited because today's guest is someone who I would say whose passion for uplifting community comes in the form of creating memorable experiences for his people. He's definitely a true culture cultivator who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up. A little bit of insight on the work this brother's been doing. He is a host, event producer, and curator, and lifestyle entrepreneur who's really focused on building communities through different facets of hospitality. And since launching his company / platform known as Laid Back Allure, he's consistently developed a long-standing track record of curating live events, experiences, and everything in between. And it's really to build a platform and to create a space for modern-day professionals, social entrepreneurs, and creatives from all walks of life, right? To collaborate, to hold space with each other, and really to just enjoy life together, right? And with many years of experience in that space, when it comes to live curation of events in that industry, his work and reputation speaks for itself. And, like they say, man, the party don't stop, right?
Yes,
the party don't stop, right? And neither does the journey, man.
Neither
does the journey. And, so let's just get straight to it, man. Our guest is none other than the curator of cool, right? The streets say when you walk into his parties, if you wasn't cool before you walked in, when you leave, you're definitely cooler. That's what the streets told me. That's what they saying. That's what I'm hearing, man. But to keep it going, man, we're super excited. We're honored to have him in the building. Our guest is none other than the laid back, max and relaxing brother himself, Anthony Jr. Can we get a round of applause, man? Give it up.
What up? Man, that was one hell of an intro, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
man.
How you doing, man?
Yo, I'm good, man. I'm blessed. Got some sleep earlier today, so I'm here. I'm ready. I love what you guys are doing, so I'm thankful for you guys to be able to, allow me to be on the platform too.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to have you, man.
Sure.
I always say long overdue, but I do mean it,
Yeah.
It's been a minute, man.
Yeah. I think it was just, with good timing,
Yeah.
I felt like, especially with the hiatus of events, man, I felt like it wasn't the timing. It wasn't the best time because I wanted to be in the midst of doing it, before it started.
I'm all about timing, divine timing, man, and trusting the universe, man. Well, we're honored to have you. And I don't know if you're familiar, but we always start every episode with a quote of the day, right? Something to get the vibe right, get the mood right, get the conversation started. Mm-hmm. And, they don't let me tell quotes up here.
Yeah, man.
Just so you know. Brother man, Ern, what you got for us, man?
The intros, you got them on lock, though.
Yeah, I got the intros, man.
But, yeah, man, the quote of the day today is you have to work hard in the dark to shine in the light.
Yep.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Who was that quote by?
Man, Kobe.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I knew that's why it hit me the way it did.
Perfect.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. Shout out to Abel, my brother. I was at his house. He convinced me to read the Mamba Mentality book. I couldn't put it down, bro. That book is amazing.
Great book.
I ended up killing it. Yeah.
I need to get that one. That was actually one of the ones that was actually on my bucket list. And I hate that it was like a last minute thing, like, after the passing and stuff like that. But I've been telling myself I need to get that. So I appreciate you, mentioning that.
Hell yeah, man.
The book is amazing, man.
Amazing book,
lie. Yeah.
Man, rest in peace, Kobe, man.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, Anthony, thanks for that quote. You don't miss. You never miss, bro. You never misses. Now, before we get into the journey, right? You've traveled a long way to get to where you're currently at. But for the listeners and viewers and those who would like to know more about Laid Back Allure and kind of what you guys are bringing to the table, when it comes to your brand and platform, in terms of like the aim and mission behind what you're bringing to the people in your community, like how would you describe it from your viewpoint?
That's a good question. I would say that Laid Back Allure, Laid Back Allure initially is just like a lifestyle and hospitality collective, and we are curating. We have well curated experiences for the modern day professional, entrepreneur, creative, etc. But I think what it's turned into now is that we kind of realized that there was a space that was needed for those a little bit more curated or more upscale types of events in the city. And I think everybody that's been doing a lot of events here, and even the clubs, the bars, etc., have done a great job of being able to curate spaces for all realms, whether you want to be a little bit more casual, you want to be a little bit more dressed up for it. But I think like we kind of curated a space where it was like you can get those type of tailored events without having to wait for something extremely grand like a ball or a charity event or something like that. So knowing that we can be in these much more upscale spaces, whether it be bi-weekly or monthly or every week, so that's kind of like what we took on. That's the space that we wanted to create. So I would say, just to answer that, is just like we just wanted to make a community for people that want to be able to go out, look fly, dress up, and do that same type of stuff that they do out in other cities, like in LA, New York, Miami, Chicago, and do it in Seattle, So that's kind of like what it is right now.
Yeah, well, that's definitely what it looks like. For sure, man. Nah, thank you for sharing that. That's dope.
Man. So let's take it back, man. Let's talk about your early life. Where you from? What was it like growing up?
Yeah, so I'm originally born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, but I am Nigerian, so I want to make sure everybody knows that I am an African man. When I was growing up, it was always one of those things for me where like I was always kind of just curious to know more about what curating spaces were. So it was one of those things where like always wanted to bring people together in different shapes or forms. So it was like whether it was, getting a group of friends to play basketball or a group of friends to, play some Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. I was always the person that was like, I would consider like the most hospitable, like just being able to like, I want to welcome people to the space, to be able to enjoy themselves. So as that, continued to go, And then, going into college, I had already, I'm also in the tech space. So I was pursuing a computer science or computer information systems degree with a concentration in software development. So while I was doing that, I was also doing radio and hosting. So it was kind of like this, kind of like not necessarily a split life, but it was like I just had different interests.
Yeah.
But in the same shape or form, I was also trying to curate experiences and curate a community of different, things. So when I was in college, part of the, it was like ISACA. So it was like it was a group for people that was in tech that were, just pursuing computers and business and all that type of stuff. But then also at the same time, when I was doing radio, it was like media, entertainment, all of that type of stuff. So it was like, I always liked it when I was like able to like, I can be in this community and talk tech talk with everybody, but then I can also be in this community and talk about who's the best rapper right now, you know? So being able to be in these spaces at the same time was, incredible. So after that, that's like when graduated and all that, and then, moved to Seattle, and I realized that, whoa, this space that I was able to curate in Atlanta, as far as like being able to bring people together, because people in Atlanta, they dress up, they make it very known that they're in the building. So when I came to Seattle and saw that there was a gap in that, and this is like ending of 2015, so when I realized that, it was like, okay, why not start all over, but kind of bring something fresh, bring something new into the space, and then from there, it kind of went,
I like how you mapped that out. You know your story very well. That's important, man. But like Erm would say, taking it back a little bit, because I am curious, because a consistent theme on this show when we talk to people is like a lot of elements in terms of who we were as kids, teens, as we're growing up, play a major role in what we're doing today. Like when you look back on your upbringing, were there like seeds planted, things that you could look back on and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Why I was into that type of shit, or why I was doing that. That kind of circles back to now.
Absolutely. So in hindsight, now that I look at it, I remember when I would go to these events in Atlanta, and this is me being like maybe anywhere between 18 and 20. I was going to events, and I was always curious behind like, why are they throwing it at this spot? Why don't you just do a house party? Because I was always a house party person. So I was always like, yo, people come through to
one time for the house party.
So I was like, yo, why don't people just do it at their house? Like throw a party, have as much alcohol as you can, have all the ladies come through, all your fellas come through and do that. But when they're doing it, it was weird, because it was like when I would see that, I was like, okay, now they got all these random people just coming through to do this. I'm seeing that, and it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, why would you want to do something not in the comfort of your home? And then in hindsight now, I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense, because you don't want people to mess your crib up, So it was moments like that. And then it also was like, I ended up becoming like, just because I was going to a lot of like, I used to work also at J. Crew in Lenox Mall in Atlanta. And it was one of those things where like, because Atlanta was like a prominent city, still is a prominent city, but I was always one of the people of like, yo, I know where this party is going. I know where we going after work. So I was always telling people like, yo, we got to go here, because this is where is such and such is going to be at and all that. Exactly. I was a promoter without even knowing, So it was like me doing that. It then started becoming like I was actually like a concierge for people that were looking for things to do. So it was like, yo, I knew the nice restaurants to, take that girl out to. I knew the place to go to if you wanted to, go have coffee but not spend too much, or like, I knew all these different types of parameters as far as like things to do for, people that was in college. So when that happened, it then started creating like almost like a buzz, where it was like people knew to hit me up for whatever it was that they were looking to do. So in that shape or form, it kind of like, expounded. It just kind of was like, all right, well, yo,
Yeah.
I can do this event for this, like whether it be for the ladies, or yo, I can do this for, you know, Nigerian Independence Day, you know, I can do this for that, I can do this for that. And, you know, it really just started to go into that route of like curating something specific for the people that will appreciate these type of things, you know? And I think, you know, it's one of those things where it's like with anything that you do, some people like it, some people don't, but that doesn't stop you from creating, you know?
No, that's real, bro.
Yeah.
That's real, man. Yeah, man, it's crazy because I actually saw that you had did an interview at one point with the Cloud Room Seattle. Yeah. And you touched on saying, well, you were speaking on how growing up, you always were looking for opportunities to capitalize on your interests. And if you couldn't see one, you would try to be an ambassador, so to speak. And I think what I'm getting from this is like you just had a knack to serve. Because I think that gets lost a lot of times when whatever people are doing, right? Whether it's you know, you own a business, or whether you're creating events, or whether you're hosting a podcast. Like a lot of times people fail to realize sometimes the reason people do stuff is to serve first and foremost, right?
Absolutely.
But getting into kind of the professional side of kind of your development, I was curious about that too. Like before jumping into entrepreneurship and saying I want to launch my own platform and stuff, like what was that professional development like before you got to that point? Yeah,
so I will say, like, you know, going back to like just a little bit based off of like what you mentioned, it's like I always kind of took the approach of like, I will do this and I'm not expecting anything back. So I think for me, that just kind of created like a mentality of like, yo, I'm just going to create free formed. And, you know, if something comes back, it does. But, you know, as long as I'm genuine with my approach, always make sure I say thank you, talk to people in the uttermost respect. That was always going to, you know, come back tenfold. So I think for me, it was like, I just was like, I'm going to do this to serve, find a purpose in that, and then from there, figure out a way of like how I can turn this into something that is like legit. Because sometimes it was also like, I didn't know how to like, I didn't know what to call it. Because at the time it was like, you know, when you're in college, people are like, man, well, you gotta, you know, people like, especially in my household, it was like, you want to be a doctor, you want to be, you know, a lawyer, you want to be this, you want to be that. So you got all of these professions that are, you know, cut out for you, that are already like established just because everybody has done it. So like when it was like going against the grain of like, oh, I want to be somebody that brings people together, I didn't know what that was, you know, and without it being like I'm like an artist or somebody that's like a promoter, because like at the time I also didn't like the word promoter. It just sounded like somebody that's like super annoying to try to get to come to the party, you know,
sending me mass text messages.
You know, so it was like I just didn't know what to actually call it, and I think like that was like, you know, that it didn't actually happen until like it coming to Seattle, because I didn't actually turn it into a business until I came to Seattle. Like when it was when I was in Atlanta, it was like we considered it like a lifestyle. Like we just was like, yo, the lifestyle is we like to do this, we like to do that, and we don't deviate to conform with other people. And that's kind of like what we considered that, you know. But as it started to get more, you know, serious and like coming over here is like can't no longer do house parties. It's like, yo, now we got to do it at actual venues. Now we got to do this at certain spaces that, you know, we're allowed to do that. Because there was a time when we threw a party in our spot, and we got in so much trouble. The police came, they gave us tickets. They were saying, yo, if you don't pay these tickets by this certain time, you're going to jail. And, you know, you thinking of that during a college student, you're like, well, man, I can't even, I'm trying to make sure I pay my rent, so I can't just afford to do these random tickets.
It's the risk-reward ratio just don't add up.
Exactly.
It just don't make sense.
So it was like, you know, I was like, yo, let's get out of this. Let's go at least the more safer route. And, you know, that's kind of like where it started to stem from. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I feel you, man. I kind of want to touch on like what's the process of like trying to organize an event like that, or events like,
Man.
I know, when you do like different themes and different parties, it probably doesn't look the same all the time. So what's like your core process pretty much?
Man, that's another good question, because a lot of people don't know this, man, because it's like people just see what, they just see a flyer and they're like, oh, yo, it's easy to just make a flyer. Yeah. But they don't know what kind of goes into it, so
hell yeah.
I will say this. So fortunately, I'm happy that, we have a team that kind of is able to tap in and fill in all the gaps for me when needed. But initially I didn't even, it wasn't even like that. So, I will say this. So, conceptualizing, figuring out what it is that people will like on a grand scale, figuring out that, and then from there also knowing that now you got to pitch it to the venue. You got to pitch it. You got to figure out if it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
If their venue can have that type of capacity, and then also talk about the different types of stipulations that occur, like how can we profit. How can we make any type of money? How can we do what we want to do? Can we bring in photographers, videographers? Do you guys want to be a part of branding? Can you give us assets to be able to, use on our flyers for like logos, and use assets for logos to, put onto the flyer and everything. So all of these things that kind of happen during the negotiation portion of, figuring out whether the venue will work. And if it does work, then you can kind of move forward and figure out what the best time frame is for doing the event. Most of the time I've always kind of, initially I've always was gearing for, that Thursday slot, because that Thursday was always like, it's almost a weekend, but it's not. But it's like, oh my gosh, thank God, like the week is almost over. Yeah. So we was doing like, our events tailored to that, where it was like, well, the event ends at 11. It's not too late, because even on normal days, most of us now probably not going to sleep until like 11, 12 on a normal day. So it was at least late enough so that way you can see the sun that's already coming down, but early enough so that way you can still get 7-8 hours of sleep. So that was always our thing. And based off of if it's successful or not, then you can kind of figure out a way where it's like, now you've already created the blueprint. You just keep on adding on, copy paste. And sometimes it's like, whether it be a monthly thing or it's a weekly thing or bi-weekly, but I say that first time frame for us was like our bread and butter was like monthly. Like knowing like, all right, cool, we did this month. Now we got a month to deliberate and figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then perfect it the next month. So
no, it's definitely a process. I'm glad you broke it down that way. I think part of that process too is the branding. Which I was curious about when you're first starting out, and maybe you have some advice and tips for those who are aspiring to build, even if it's not an event-based type of company, but just a brand in general. Like, how did you go about ensuring that your brand was being like understood and resonated with? Because a lot of times, it could just be people pulling up, say, "Oh, I had a blast," but didn't know what brand it was or why they should care about the brand. So, like, do you have advice and tips for those who are starting a brand? On how to build it and how to make sure people can connect to it? Yeah,
absolutely. I say the best way is knowing that right now we're in this social media game, and I've always said it in different capacities, but like social media, your Instagram, your Twitter, whatever it is, that's your online portfolio. That's your online resume. So you got to make sure that anything that you're putting out that is in regards to that is to the best that it can be. So that way you can show people a quick highlight of what it was that happened and be able to tell your story behind it. So, for us, like the very, very first event that we did in Seattle, I had already did the groundwork where it was like, I'm looking at everybody that's doing events. And I remember I went to events that were in Tacoma, in Everett, in Bellevue, in Kirkland, in Seattle, Issaquah. I was going to all events, even in Portland. I remember going to all these different events, and I was just kind of trying to figure out what is it that people are, captivated to, figuring out like what it is that people like and what are the things that people don't like about these types of events. And then knowing that if this event occurred, how long are they waiting to do a recap? Are they even doing video recap? Are they doing photo recap? All of these different types of things, and then what are things that build the most engagement? So I was studying that type of stuff, and then what we did was like, we did the first event, but we made it private. We made it private, and then we made it cocktail attire because we knew that people don't typically dress up, you know? So we did it cocktail attire, we did it private, and we had one of the best photographers at that time really like capture every moment. Most of the stuff was, very candid, but a lot of things that I wanted him to capture was like very staged, just to make sure people knew that when it came down to the cheersing of a drink, or like, certain lady with a nice dress, or something like that, to show people like this is really like, this can happen anywhere, not just in these other metropolitan cities. So when we staged all those things, and then we put out the final results, that's when people were like, yo, where was this at? Why is this person dressed like this? Like, where can it? And this is all capturing everybody's capturing everybody's mind, because it's like people were just so used to like, yo, I can't really go places to dress up. I can't go places to have these these nice cocktails. People can take shots, but they're not really like getting super drunk and stuff. So people just at that time weren't accustomed to seeing that type of stuff documented that way. So that was really like what made people like start paying attention a little bit. So it started from there, and then at that time it was like, because we didn't have anything to lose at the point, so it was like, yo, let's just create community this way. So we started creating it, and most important thing that we did was like, we did not compromise. We were like, yo, if people are trying to change it and try to see if we can do something else, it was like, nah, we're not budging for anybody,
because you know your identity. You gotta, like, branding is identity. That's why that's why I tell people, like, you could be in the same industry as someone, that's fine, but like, y'all are different, absolutely, based on your identity, you know what I'm saying? But it's about being aware of that. A lot of times people get too caught up in like the aesthetics, but it's like, but who are you? What do you represent? And I'm glad that's a gem, because a lot of people can get pushed off their their square here and there based on what people say and whatnot. So
absolutely,
that's good. That's good stuff.
And based on like how you like curated and everything, like being an attendee, like people will appreciate that, like, the effort you put into it, instead of just like, oh, it's just another party. It's like curating it a certain way, like people really pay attention to that, you know? So.
And on top of it too, it was like, now in hindsight, it's kind of like, we want to create an ecosystem of the things that we're curating. So it's like, how can we have, some type of control of the space that we're in? How can we have control of some type of the music that we have, or the cocktails that we're giving, the menu, people's attire, like all of these type of things, to know that like, if you come to our event, you're coming in this type of format, knowing that you're here, we're creating community, you're gonna meet a lot of different people, but if you come back here tomorrow, it's not gonna be the same thing.
There we go. And
it's gonna be completely different.
No, and that's crazy, because that one of the things that stuck out to me about Laid Back Allure was like, yo, nothing's the same. Not, you know what I mean? Not on no Drake shit, but nothing was the same, for real. Every event feels different and it looks different, right? And I think a lot of times people get like, they see success in one thing, they're like, let's just run it back. And let's just keep running it back. Let's just keep running it back, which is great, right? If it's not broke, don't fix it. But you guys take risks, if you want to call it that, or you guys try to break the mold and say, man, let's try this. Let's try this type of different theme, right? It's all under the umbrella of Laid Back Allure, but let's just throw this out there. So my question is more so regarding the logistics versus the creativity, like, because logistics, but then you're like, man, creatively, like, do they ever like kind of clash? Because I would assume they do. When you got big plans and you're like, wait, logistically, I don't want it. You know what I mean? We've definitely ran into that often.
Just because sometimes there's ideas that we have that are extremely grand, to the point that we know, like, okay, this is extremely grand and it's going to take this amount to do it. But then if we have this amount, maybe we can save, or, we can table that idea for another time. So there's times where we're taking a risk and we're like, we can do this grand idea if we're able to take this to this, if we're able to have these type of take this fund and turn it into this fund, then we can take that risk of, doing something much more grand.
Yeah. So
I would say oftentimes they definitely do, but, even in the beginning of the time, when we were first doing our first tiers of events, it was like we was losing actually, because we was doing all the events for free.
Yeah.
Everybody could come in. We're not making money from the bar.
Yeah.
We weren't making any type of money, but we were paying for the photos.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we're just gonna figure out a way on like how to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Once we get captivate on the space and the community. But I think that's kind of like what made it so much more better, because we were just inviting everybody. It was nothing where we were making it like exclusive to only these people.
Yeah.
But I feel like with people, people got a little bit, there's some people that got intimidated based off what the photos looked like and how they had to dress and how people were. But it was never really anything that we were trying to shy people away from, like, coming to these things, and we would always post it all on social media and stuff, so it was never like a private thing. But I think like the people that came, they came because they wanted to, and then anybody else that didn't want to come, and they just didn't come. But going back to the that logistics side, it was like we took those losses to turn into those gains at the end of the day. So we weren't profiting like that early on, but then now, because we took those losses, we became like a voice of reason, a voice of truth, where it was like, now you can expect if we do something, then it's going to be a good time for everybody.
You know what's amazing about what you just said is, like, when people talk about taking losses, a lot of times those losses are on the back end. They're not visible, right? But on the front end, there's value being built.
Absolutely.
And what I'm getting from that is, like, a lot of times people are so caught up in like winning in the back end and the front end every single time. That's not realistic.
Absolutely.
But as long as you're winning on the front end every time with your value, it's going to compound. That's what I just got from that. So
it's one of those things too, where it's like sometimes you just gotta, like, you use that internal loss as like a way to just continue to inspire and pave that way for you to get even better, So there's several times, like, myself and the rest of the team would really just do that and be like, all right, well, we may have taken this loss financially, but the value that we got from it, it's much more, like the way that people are talking about it. They're like, yo, we're coming next time. We want to do this next time. I want to bring my friends. I want to bring my girlfriends, all that type of stuff. And that stuff just holds much more weight.
Way more weight.
So
that's a great point to touch on.
I'm also glad that you brought up the team. Like, how important is it to have a team? Because sometimes we get caught up in trying to do like so much by ourselves sometimes. So like, how important is that?
The team is everything. Team is everything. I feel like, you can have a great idea and you be that person that, comes up with the idea, but then if you don't have the team to be able to help facilitate it and bring it to life, your idea is just as good as a dream. Whereas like you need more people to bring it alive, So I think, like, for the most part, anybody that doesn't have a team, they should try to figure out a way to invest in one, and also make it where it's like very inclusive, where you want people to also be able to fulfill their own dream within the dream too. Because I think there's been often times where, like, I have a dream, and I sound like I'm okay.
Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Yo,
that one day.
I was saying, like, one day.
That's cool. I'm gonna save that for Black History Month. We're gonna run that back for Black History Month.
We're gonna put that.
Yo, so it's like when you have a dream and you're able to bring everybody else into it, that just makes the dream that much stronger, So for example, if it's like, you want to start a basketball team, that's being your dream, and then, starting a basketball team, you have a point guard, shooting guard, et cetera, and everybody can fulfill that, and you just want to be the coach, and you're like, all right, cool, well, I'm the coach, I got my 5 people that's going to start, you're going to have probably your 4 or 5 that's on the bench, but at the same time, it's like, unless you have that point guard, unless you have that shooting guard or small forward and stuff, it doesn't. The dream is not complete. You know, you need all of those key players to be able to play their role.
Like it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. You know, unless you want to do like the 3-on-3 and stuff, then that's cool.
Shout out the big three though.
Yeah, the big three.
We still respect the big three. Shout out Ice Cube.
But you need those people to be able to help bring that vision together, because I've tried it in the past where it's like I've tried to do everything, and it's like, yes, there's times you can do it, but man, that headache is something that will never go away. Will never go away unless you get somebody to be able to offload some of those tasks for you. You know, so
it's very like empowering, and then you give a chance for everybody to shine. Like, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, collectively. So
and I think also another thing too that I do is like I usually ask everybody like, what is their goal? What is their end goal to be able to, you know, to fulfill that within the idea, within the dream. So that way, it's kind of like, you know, you have a maybe you have a job that you work for, and the manager or your supervisor is very adamant about putting you in the best position for you to get that raise or for you to get that title change, you know? So they always go through those, you know, different quarters of like when you have that one-on-one and you talk to them and figure out what works, what doesn't work. I try to at least do that and talk to everybody to figure out what it is that I can do to be able to best put them in the best position, you know? So I think that's a big thing to do, to really to be able to like, aside from the business stuff, aside from the personal stuff, like where are you at right now, so that way I can, you know, help out. So that's a big thing.
That's what's up, man.
No, for sure. And I think it's really about opportunities at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times people look at things that they create and they think about like ownership and stuff like that, but ultimately all we really own is the opportunity in which we've created. And without seeing it as an opportunity, then it's really non-existent. You know what I mean? That's good though. And I did want to kind of get your take on this, because you do a lot of work and your output is like, the volume's high, right? And the impact is felt, obviously. Do you feel like there's a sense of like culture shifting that's also being done? Because like when you talk about like the cocktail attire and stuff like that, people, it's not like foreign. Right? Because if you look back in the days, like that's how actually people pulled up to parties, right? I was like, I was watching the movie Life, bro, and like, I remember like the Boom Boom Room, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody suited and booted, but that was normal. So do you feel like there's a sense of like kind of bringing that Black excellence back, where people are like, yo, this is who we actually are. This is how we actually have been presenting ourselves in the past. Do you see that somewhat?
I definitely see that, because now it's like, we have to also remember that, like, you know, sometimes the spaces that we are often makes us feel like we have to dumb down what we truly believe ourselves to be, you know? So I feel like there's times that, like, we may have wanted to, like, you know, whether it be dress up a certain way or behave a certain way, but then we can't because of the space that we're in. So that's how, like, kind of like how, you know how people have created like the terminology, the code switch, where it's like, yo, you gotta put on the fake laugh, you gotta talk about stuff you really don't want to do.
I think we're all fluent in that.
Right? You know, so you gotta, you know, wear a mask in these spaces that, like, you're getting the job done and stuff, but like you want to be yourself. You want to figure out a way on like how you can do things that feel right to you. So I think that's a big part of it, where it was like, yo, we know that we got some clothes that we wish we could rock here, but we choose to rock it over in AZ, or we choose to rock it in New York or wherever, where we're going on vacation. Man, let's do this in your backyard. Let's do this back over here, 20 minutes from the house. Let's do that. Versus having to go and, you know, spend our money other places.
Bro,
you
about
know,
to make me go buy an outfit right now. Dog.
You know, just,
I'm like,
you know,
I'm motivated, bro.
Yeah, you know, just
hey, we're going on a shopping trip after this, man. Everybody. I don't know who's paying for it, but we gonna go. We going.
You know, but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, even if it doesn't come down to the clothes specifically, but if it comes down to like how you feel when you're talking to certain people, knowing that like you don't have to, like, it's not like a an actual networking event where it's like everything seems very transactional, where I gotta give you my business card and you provide me a resume and we see how we can benefit from each other. It's like, yo, we're just in the same space because we enjoy the same interests and we just want to have a good time and not feel like we're judged in the same space, you know?
Just being our authentic selves.
Exactly. So that's really what it's always been about. So to answer that, yes, I definitely believe that, because now there's so much other people that are in Seattle that are doing events too, that are just, they're killing it, you know? So, you know, shout out to everybody that's doing that, because they already know who I'm talking about. But I really believe that, you know, it's not just us that is doing that, but like so many other people that are in the community space that is really like tapped in and tapping into those people that we may not be able to tap into, you know? So
no, it's like a wave of inspiration, bro. But it's about perspective, you know? Like, you know, one of my favorite quotes is Young Jeezy, where he's like, "That ain't this and this ain't that." You know what I mean? But like,
that's a dope quote.
Yeah, right? Like, it's not to say one is better than the other. It's just saying, like, I see what that is. And then it's not this, but I'm inspired. I can be inspired by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people got to also remember that they can't look at any of this type of stuff as competition, because that's when you start to mess up your system or mess up your routine, because if you start looking at everything as competition, it's like you beat yourself before you know you even get started, you know? So I'm always like trying to make sure that I'm going out to their events to support, show love. If I can't make it to it, then maybe just reposting something, or like, you know, telling somebody to go to it and stuff. So that's what I always want people to understand, that like, you know, creating community, building community is not about competition. It's just being able to serve, being able to give to people in different facets, different shapes and forms. So that's why I always want to make sure that, especially being on this platform, I know there's also been a lot of great community builders that's been here. So I want to just make sure that everybody knows, like, yo, I always want to show love, and I always want people to know that I'm supporting just like they support me. So
support is key, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of what we do doesn't exist without community. You know what I'm saying? This platform in itself won't exist without people such as yourself and others who are doing the work. So we got to build with each other and build off each other at the same time. I like that, man. I like that.
Yeah, man. So I kind of want to talk about the name. Like, how did you come? Because that name is so dope. You know, so I kind of want to like see how that was, like, how that came about.
You know, this is like, it's gonna sound crazy, but it is actually very true. So, on the Black Album, Jay-Z, you got the song Allure, right? At the time, I didn't know what allure meant. But I was like listening to it, but it was like almost like a reminiscing, like, you know, he's reminiscing about the game. And I was like, yo, like, you know, it means, you know, strong attraction or desire for something, you know. And I was like, okay, yo, I resonate with this song, because I also was like, yo, that was the album where he was kind of like reflecting on like when he was about to retire, you know. So it was like, okay, yo, like, he's talking about this because he feels like he's probably already accomplished everything that he really wanted to do. But then I also knew, I was like, okay, my personality is pretty laid back. So I'm all the time, even if I'm busy, somebody will call me and say, yo, what's up? What you up to? I'm always like, yo, I'm just chilling.
See like a fire going on.
I was like, yeah. I'm always like, yo, I'm just chilling, man. Meantime, I got so many things going on, you know, but yo, I'm just chilling. What's going on? So after that, it was like, just put those two together, where it was like, you know, strong attraction is something, but then also being very laid back in a personality. So that's how those two came together. And then originally, even before, it was like a, you know, like I said, it was like kind of like how a lifestyle thing, but even before it became like a platform for, you know, community building, it was a blog that we had on Tumblr, where we would just reblogging everything that we felt that fit that narrative of Laid Back Allure. So literally, even right now, we've changed it up a little bit, because we just put all of the event photos on there, but like literally laidbackallure.tumblr.com is still a thing. Because that was still like
that's the archive.
Yeah, that's the archive. You know, there's so many things that there's so many things that even before I we replaced those images and stuff, I saved all those stuff because that's essentially became the mood board and the blueprint to creating those things.
Yeah,
so
man.
I used to reblog so many different dope bars and like ways people would be dressed up, and like, you know, maybe, you know, you on Tumblr you'll reblog a certain celebrity here and there and stuff. People with the watches and all that, all this stuff that you really wanted to acquire at the younger age and stuff. So kept all of those things, put it in a folder as a mood board, and I still mood board to this day. Yeah. And that's what really started the whole like, yo, if I'm going to do an event, I'm going to do it in this type of space and this. And then even the name itself just kind of gives you that, like, it's almost like that law of attraction. That's speaking things into existence. So that's really how it came.
Yeah, you know? Man, because I seen it and I was like, the only time I've ever seen this word was on Jay-Z's album. He said that. I was like, oh, okay, the message stemmed from that. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what's up, though, man.
I love it, man. No, because it is important, man, what I tell people is like, if someone could point at your logo or your signature or whatever it is and be like, yo, what does that represent? You should be mad excited to explain it. Yeah. Because there's something that, like you just did right there, like it ties in, right?
Absolutely.
And it's very descriptive and it's symbolic for a lot more than what it just says or what it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, bro, you've been dropping some gems, and you know, we this is I'm learning. I feel cooler. I ain't gonna lie, like I feel a lot cooler at this point of the show than I did before we started. So, so speaking of cool, right? I just wanted to get your perspective on this. Like you advocate, right, for the curation of cool and everybody kind of being in their space. But like, how would you define what it means to be cool? Like, what is from your perspective, how would you define that?
Man. I would say being cool is just really just, you know, following your own rules, following your own intuition and being confident about it. I think that's what has always shown people of like being super cool, because like they're not conforming to anybody else's rules. So when you see that person that is like, yo, they just doing what they want to do. Like, that's when you know, like, yo, this person's cool. You know, like if it comes down to like talking the way they want to talk, or walking the way they want to talk, or dressing, or whatever it is, like they're moving off of their own schedule, and they're not letting time dictate how they should curate their day, or, you know, carry their day, you know? So I would say that is the definition of that. And, you know, just ensuring that you just stick with your program at the end of the day, you know. We even had the conversation when it came down when we was doing yoga, you know what I'm saying? We did that, and we were talking about, you know, sticking to your routine or creating a routine, you know? So I would say, and if you're able to create that routine and do what you need to do throughout the day, that's cool. That works.
I love that.
Because when you're able to, when you start feeling like, man, I'm getting pulled in from all these different, you know, people, and everybody's asking for my time, it's like, man, you get a little stressed out. But then we're able to kind of control your own time, control your own destiny in that space. You cool. You good.
I love that.
You know?
That was a breakdown, bro.
We're going to use that for a commercial or something, like a beer commercial or something. Nah, that's solid, bro. That was cool. Cool, bro. Man, bro. Nah, we definitely appreciate you just, you know, sharing your journey with us, man, and expressing what you've learned along the way and paying it forward, man. It's super dope. I am curious, though, if you can kind of like look ahead. What excites you for the future for Anthony Jr.? Like, what is something, you don't got to get too detailed if you don't want to, but like what are you excited for the future? Man,
I think I'm excited for the unknown, because I believe that I've been a big advocate for speaking things into existence. And I believe that that's what's been the trailblazer of what this brand has became, just speaking all of it into existence, or seeing myself doing these things and being a part of these different opportunities and communities. So I think just not knowing the unknown or looking forward to the unknown is the biggest thing for me, because now it's like the things that we've acquired or the things that we've done, they were all spoken into. They were first ideas that we spoke into existence. So now if I continue to do that, and especially with repetition, especially with the experience, then, you know, we know that, you know, anything is possible as long as we, you know, we work towards it, you know. It goes back to like knowing that when you post that flyer and you think that, oh, we just posted another flyer, we just created something, but it's like, nah, now that we've created that blueprint and we're able to copy and paste in different shapes and forms, we're like, all right, cool. Well, now let's tweak this a little bit. Let's tweak that a little bit and provide this. I think that's kind of like what, you know, we're super looking forward to. So I would say that just the unknown of just knowing that anything is possible at this point.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was literally thinking about that yesterday. I was just like talking to myself like, you got to lean into the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like, those who lean into the uncertainty, like really like enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're able to think more like creatively in terms of what's possible. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then even thinking about this, like even you guys are about to, you know, celebrate 5 years, right? Yeah. So knowing that that's a benchmark time. A lot of people don't get to that. Yeah. Especially being consistent. So shout out to y'all for doing that.
Appreciate it.
But just know that like after that 5 year mark, you guys have learned so many different things on how to, you know, do the podcast, do the show, what things you should work on for, you know, your own personal needs, and then what type of guests you should look for. That just makes it so much sustainable to do the next 5 years, you know, you know, making it even bigger. So just knowing that, just the future is just kind of like, man, anything could really happen. So
I love
you, bro. Because I had no idea what 5 years was gonna look like at the beginning, you know. But then when you get there and you look back, you're like, damn, you know,
it's like, absolutely,
it's like blissful, you know?
Absolutely,
I love that, man.
That's what's up.
Powerful stuff, man. Tell people where they can find you on socials if they wanted to connect.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, anything really at Anthony UJR. So ANTHONY, the letter UJR, and then also follow Laid Back Allure on Instagram and Twitter, and also on Facebook, Laid Back Allure. No uppercase, no hyphens, nothing, just all straight together. So
straight like that.
Straight like that.
Straight like that, man. Yeah, man. No ice.
As it should be.
No, thank you for sharing that. And again, I definitely feel like this has been a very fruitful conversation. And those who've been listening and watching thus far, I'm sure they were able to pick up some gems. I know I have. I know they feel cooler. You watching at home and you listening, you know you feel cooler. You know it. Don't lie. Now, before we get you out of here, we always ask our guests this final question to cap things off. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up, and why?
Man. I would say purpose. Purpose. I think for such a long period of time, I didn't know like, you know, people look at it from a very, you know, surface level of like, yo, this guy just does parties, or this guy just does events and stuff like that. And they don't really kind of take the time out to really be like, yo, but why are you doing it? You know? And that was something that I had to even look in for myself too, where it was like, yo, like, why am I doing this? Like, what is my purpose behind doing these things? Because if I was to do this for another 5 years, like, would I still have that same reasoning? Would I still have that same purpose behind it? And, you know, for the most part, yes. Like, to bring people together, to build community, that's the purpose, because I feel like that's the way that I serve, you know, that's the way that I want to serve other people, and I want to be able to be the most hospitable person, to be able to put people on and share everything, share what I need to share, because, you know, at the end of the day, you can't take it with you. You got to just be able to give it to other people that will can make better use of it, you know, however you can, you know. So that's it, purpose.
Purpose, man.
What's up?
I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that word. I always try to replace, it's crazy, I always try to replace the word pressure with purpose.
That's a good one too.
I always try to do it because you know, sometimes be like, oh man, I'm under pressure. I'm like, nah, I'm under purpose. It's a different. Think about it different. Yeah,
definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. It's like turning that word can't into can.
Yeah,
like,
I love that word, bro. Wow, man. Well, Anthony, man. Again, like I said, man, we appreciate you for being here. You know, sharing your wisdom, sharing your journey with us, and those listening and watching. You got support with us here at the UpNUp always, man.
Always.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
We're super excited to see what's coming. I know you got something coming this Friday, right?
Right? Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday.
Okay. I know you got something. You always got something coming.
Yeah.
I just threw a day out there, like Friday, Thursday.
Nah, man, we should have something on Friday, man. I'm still trying to we've done like one event. A couple events actually on a Friday, but man, I'm trying to have a Friday on lock all the time.
Okay.
In due time though. Due time.
Man.
But yeah, this Sunday we definitely got something.
Man. Well, with that said, man, again, we wish you much success moving forward, brother.
Thank you.
We thank you for being here, and again, for the listeners and viewers, we thank you as well, always, man. And with that being said, I think it's safe to say Anthony Jr. and the whole Laid Back Allure team are officially members of the UpNUp. Can we get a round?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's it,
my brother.
I appreciate that,
brother.
fellas. Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you, man, for real, man. It means a lot.
To continue supporting the podcast and the entire UpNUp movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us at _the UpNUp on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the UpNUp has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one,
Keep it on the UpNUp.